before the X-Men, before Spider-Man, or long before the MCU ever came out to the box office, there was this. Celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, let's talk about the film of Marvel's own vampire hunter, Blade. This is Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name is Noel, better known to as the Big D. This time around, I bring to you a review of the 1998 superhero flick Blade, released by New Line Cinema, directed by Stephen Norrington, written by David S. Goyer, long before he worked on the Dark Knight trilogy. Based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, the first installment of the Blade franchise, starring Wesley Snipes in the title role, along with Stephen Dorff and Kris Kristofferson. About a human with vampire strengths but not their weaknesses who fights against vampires. This film was a big success despite getting mixed reviews and what have you, but received positive reception from the audiences and gained a cult following, and is also hailed as one of Snipes' signature roles. It is also known as a dark superhero film for its time, as well as being Marvel's first successful film and setting the stage for further comic book film adaptations. So now let's get started with the story. In 1967, a pregnant woman is attacked by a vampire, causing her to go into premature labor. Doctors are able to save her baby, but the woman dies. 3 years later, the child has become the vampire hunter Blade, who is a human vampire hybrid that possesses the supernatural abilities of the vampires without any of their weaknesses, except for the requirement to consume human blood. Blade raids a rave club in LA owned by the vampire Deacon Frost. Police take one of the vampires to the hospital, where he kills Dr. Curtis Webb and feeds him on hematologist Karen Jensen and escapes. Blade takes Karen to a safe house where she is treated by his old friend Abraham Whistler. He explains that he and Blade have been waging a secret war against vampires using weapons based on their elemental weaknesses, such as sunlight, silver, and garlic. As Karen is now marked by the bite of the vampire, both he and Blade tell her to leave the city. At a meeting of the Council of Pure Blood Vampire Elders, Frost, the leader of a faction of younger vampires, is rebuked for trying to incite war between vampires and humans. As Frost and his kind are not natural born vampires, they are considered socially inferior. Meanwhile, returning to her apartment, Karen is attacked by police officer Krieger, who is a human loyal to vampires. Blade subdues Krieger and uses information from him to locate an archive that contains pages from the Vampire Bible. Krieger informs Frost of what happened, and Frost kills Krieger. Frost also has one of the elders executed and strips the others of their authority in response to the earlier disrespect shown for him at the Council of Vampires. Meanwhile, Blade comes upon Pearl, a morbidly obese vampire, and tortures him with a UV light into revealing that Deacon wants to command a ritual where he would use 12 pure blood vampires to awaken the blood god Lamagra, and Blade's blood is the key. Later at the hideout, Blade injects himself with a special serum that suppresses his urge to drink blood. However, the serum is beginning to lose its effectiveness due to overuse. While experimenting with the anticoagulant, EDTA, as a possible replacement, Karen discovers that it explodes when combined with vampire blood. She manages to synthesize a vaccine that can cure the infected, but learns that it will not work on Blade. Karen is confident that she can cure Blade's bloodthirst, but it would take her years of treating it. All right, now for the ending. As always, you know the procedure. You have 5 seconds to stop this video. Go to the description box below. Fast forward to the time below. If you've seen the movie already, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. Frost and his men attack the hideout, infect Whistler, and abduct Karen. When Blade returns, he helps Whistler commit suicide. When Blade attempts to rescue Karen from Frost's penthouse, he is shocked to find his still alive mother, who reveals that she came back the night she was attacked and was brought in by Frost, who appears and reveals himself as the vampire who bit her. Blade is then subdued and taken to the Temple of Eternal Night, where Frost plans to perform the summoning ritual for Lamagra. Karen is thrown into a pit to be devoured by Webb, who has transformed into a decomposing zombie-like creature. Karen injures Webb and escapes. Blade is drained of his blood, but Karen allows him to drink from her, enabling him to recover. Frost completes the ritual and obtains the powers of Lamagra. Blade confronts Frost after killing all of his minions, including his mother. During their fight, Blade injects Frost with all of the syringes. The overdose of EDTA causes his body to inflate and explode, killing him. Karen offers to help Blade cure himself. Instead, he asks her to create an improved version of the serum so he can continue his crusade against vampires. In a brief epilogue, Blade confronts a vampire in Moscow. End of story. So, what did I think of Blade? Well, I've seen it a few times, and I must say this was a pretty good way to start off a pretty good Marvel film. Definitely. This film would be a big success for New Line, making 131 million worldwide. Its soundtrack had a lot of hip hop music and made the top 40 part of the Billboard 200. And was the soundtrack was released by TVT Records along with Epic Records, who had recently released the soundtrack for another dark hero flick from New Line. That was Spawn, which came out the previous year. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Got mixed up. I almost about said Blade or one of its sequels. My bad. Um, yes, Epic recently worked on the soundtrack for Spawn the previous year. But anyway, but this was mostly hip hop, not rock and what have you. The score was done by Mike Isom, and I'm going to say he did a very good job on this. It was Marvel's first film box office success, and what have you. However, Marv Wolfman, who was, of course, the big time worker for numerous comics, unsuccessfully sued Marvel, New Line, and their parent company at the time, Time Warner, after they recently acquired New Line's former parent company, Turner Entertainment, for $35 million after the release of the film, claiming he was not bound by a work for hire contract when he created the character in 1972. He, along with artist Gene Colan, received a based on characters created by credit in this film. The film was released on August 21st, 1998. Henceforth, today is the 25th anniversary of the film. Anyway, the film again proved to be a big success at the box office, going on to make 131 million worldwide. With its reviews, it currently sits at 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying that though some may find the plot a bit lacking, the film's edge is fierce, plentiful, and appropriately stylish for a comic book adaptation. Definitely, the story's reasonable and what have you. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying that the film is a movie that relishes high visual style. It uses the extreme camera angles, the bizarre costumes and sets, the exaggerated shadows, the confident cutting between long shots and extreme close-ups. It slams ahead in pure, visceral imagery. Totally. Variety says, though slick and diverting in some aspects, increasingly silly, Pick has trouble meshing disparate elements horror, superhero, fantasy, straight up action into a workable whole. The AV Club was critical of the story and the dialogue, but praised the creative cinematography and non stop, decently choreographed, gratuitous violence. Definitely. But anyway, Blade was pretty cool and what have you. It would go on to be the next big thing of a franchise for New Line. It would go on to have two sequels, Blade 2, which came out 4 years later, and then 2 years later, Blade Trinity. Both were also written by Goyer and also directed by did by and Blade Trinity was directed by Goyer, while the sequel was directed by Guillermo del Toro before he did Hellboy. Anyway, now there was also a video game prequel published and released by Activision 2 years later and got mixed reviews, and a separate game for the Game Boy Color was released. Now, as for our cast, I liked Wesley Snipes as Blade. He was absolutely very good. Stephen Dorff played Deacon Frost. Great villain. Liked him. Kris Kristofferson. I was surprised he was actually in a movie. I know he had been in several other movies long before, playing Whistler. He was very, very good. Nabush Wright plays Karen. She's good. Donald Logg plays Quinn, a minion of Frost. Udo Kier played a vampire elder named Gaetano. I remember seeing this guy before. Yes, I've seen him in, let me see. I know I've seen him in Ace Ventura and Barbed Wire and lots of other films. Anyway, Blade was really big. Oh yeah, and Sanaa Lathan played Blade's mother, Vanessa Brooks. Actually, director Stephen Norrington played the character of Michael Morbius in a deleted scene that's probably on physical media. Brenda Song, who I'm sure you know that would be, well, before she went on to appear in Disney Channel's Sweet Life series and appear in numerous other films for Disney Channel and like Mike. Well, she's uncredited, but she plays a child held hostage by Frost before being thrown into the street. So anyway, now you know about Blade. Its story is reasonable, it's got a good soundtrack and score, great characters, and a great cast. So overall, with that and its dark tone, would I recommend Blade? I'd say hell yeah, definitely. Give it a shot. I think you'll really enjoy this one. The sequels are, well, more hit than miss. Well, the second one's pretty good. The third one, oh, I'll get to that when I get to them. I'll review the two sequels later on down the road. There would also be a TV series that came out a few years later, as well as plans to putting him in the MCU later on. They're saying maybe next year, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves yet. But they're saying it'll happen. At least I hope. So what did you think of Blade? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me next time when I bring to you the first of my John Cena week as I review The Marine. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, check out these other dark films. These other vampire films. In the upper left-hand corner is my review of Morbius from last year, which was a spoiler-free review, but I know that film didn't do too well. I understand. The upper right-hand corner is my review of Underworld from 2003, or if you'd like another dark superhero flick, go to the bottom left-hand corner and see my review of Spawn. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.